Hello everyone and welcome to today's video on DevOps interview questions on Intellipaat. Do you know friends that DevOps has a bright future ahead of it? DevOps practical uses are growing day by day. If we talk about the future of DevOps in various areas of the IT businesses, its demand has been increasing ever since and thus resulting in great demands for DevOps engineer. So for the same, we are going to discuss the interview questions. But before that, do not forget to hit the subscribe button and click the bell icon.
So let's start with what is DevOps. DevOps is a set of cultural concepts, practices and tools that improves an organization's capacity to provide applications and services at high speed. If I talk about what exactly is DevOps, it is actually collaboration of development and operations team. It is more of a cultural shift, which is kind of related to the agile methodology. And its priorities are resource management, communication and teamwork. And an organization get benefited by the speed, functionality, stability and innovation by following this methodology. I hope so it's clear to you what exactly is DevOps. Now let's move forward and discuss the next question. The next question is, how does HTTP works? And the answer to the same question is, HTTP stands for Hypertext Transfer Protocol, which works in a client-server model like most other protocols. HTTP provides a way to interact with the web resources by transmitting hypertext messages between clients and servers. So, there is an HTTP request by the client and in response, there is an HTTP response given by the server. This is how the HTTP works. Now let's move forward and discuss the next question. The next question is, what is CI and what is its purpose? Actually, CI stands for Continuous Integration, which is the process of compiling the entire code base every time a member of a software development team checks the code into the shared code repository. Suppose if a team member checks into the code file with a bug, the build gets broken. In this sort of scenario, the other developers can synchronize the shared source code repository without introducing the compilation errors into their own local workspaces. Thus, collaborative and shared software development cannot go forward. When a CI build breaks, it is crucial that a problem is corrected immediately. A CI process often includes a suite of unit and integration and regression tests that run every time the compilation succeeds. If any of these tests fail, the build will be considered unstable, not broken. I hope so it's clear to you what is CI and what is its purpose. Now let's move forward and discuss the next question. The next question is, name 3 important DevOps KPI. And the answer are, the 3 most common DevOps KPIs are, first, mean time to the failure recovery. Then there is a deployment frequency, and finally we have percentage of failed deployments. I hope so it's clear to you what are the 3 important DevOps KPI. Now let's move forward and discuss the next question. The question is, what is the difference between continuous deployment and continuous delivery? Continuous deployment is fully automated and the deployment to production needs no manual intervention in continuous deployment. Whereas in continuous delivery, the deployment to production requires some manual intervention for change management in the organization, and it needs to be approved by the manager or higher authorities to be deployed in the production. According to your organization's application risk factor, continuous deployment or delivery approach will be chosen. I hope so it's clear to you what is exactly the difference between continuous deployment and continuous delivery. So basically, if I talk about the continuous delivery, your code is done first, then you go for unit test, then you integrate, then there is an acceptance test, and finally you deploy it to the production. And in the continuous deployment, we have first the code is done, then there is unit test, then there is integration, then there is acceptance, and from acceptance test to deployment production, the test is done automatically, where in the continuous delivery, it is done manually. I hope so it's clear to you what is the major difference. Now let's move forward and discuss the next question. The question is, what are the core operations of DevOps in terms of development and infrastructure? The core operations of DevOps are application development, version control, unit testing, deployment with infrastructure, monitoring, configuration, and orchestration. I hope so it's clear to you what are the core operations of DevOps. Now let's move forward and discuss the next question. The next question is, can one consider DevOps as an agile methodology? And the answer is, DevOps can be considered as in complementary to the agile methodology, but not completely similar. Now let's move forward and discuss the next question. Can you tell me what are the advantages of using Git? So if the interviewer asks you this question, you can answer the major advantages of using Git are data redundancy and replication. Then we have high availability. Then we can discuss of only one Git directory per repository. Moving ahead, you can say something like this. There is a superior disk utilization and network performance. It is collaboration friendly, and finally, it can be used for any sorts of projects. I hope so it's clear to you what are the advantages of using Git. Now let's move forward and discuss the next question. The question is, are Git fetch and Git pull the same? This is one of the most important questions which is asked in DevOps. So you can answer something like this. The command git pull pulls any new commits from a branch from the central repository and then updates the target branch in the local repository. But git fetch is slightly different from git pull. Unlike git pull, it pulls all new commits from the desired branch and then stores them in a new branch in the local repository. In order to reflect these changes in your target branch, git fetch must be followed with git merge. The target branch will only be updated after merging with the fetch branch, where we perform the git fetch. We can also interpret the whole thing with an equation something like this, where git pull equals to git fetch plus git merge. I hope so it is clear to you what is the major difference between git pull and git merge. Now let's move forward and discuss the next question. The next question is, what are the benefits of using version control? And you can answer something like this. The major benefits of using version control are that it helps to improve the collaborative work culture, which means that the team members are allowed to work freely on any file at any time. The version control system allows us to merge all changes into common version. The next advantage is that it keeps different versions of code files securely, where all the previous versions and variants of code files are neatly packed up inside the version control system. Then it understands what happened. Every time we save a new version of our project, the version control system asks us to provide a short description of what was changed. More than it allows us to see what changes were made in the file content, as well as who has made those changes. The next advantage is it keeps the backup. It is a distributed version control system like Git, which allows all team members to have complete history of the project file, so that in case there is a breakdown in the central server, they can use of their any teammates' local Git repository. The next question is, how do you handle the merge conflicts in Git? The answer to the same question is, in order to resolve the merge conflicts in Git, we need to follow these three fundamental steps, and these are: understand first what has happened. It could be because of the same line edit on the same file, or also it could be because of deleting some files, or it could be because of files with the same file names. You can check everything by using the Git status. Then mark and clean up the conflict. When we open the files using the merge tool, Git marks conflicts the area like this. Then it performs the commit again and then merge the current branch with the master branch. I hope so it's clear to you how you can handle merge conflicts in Git. The next question is, can you tell me some advantages of forking workflow over the other Git flows? And the answer to the same question is, forking workflow is fundamentally different from the other Git workflows. Instead of using a single server-side repository to act as a central code base, forking workflow gives every developer their own server-side repositories. This workflow is most often seen in the public open source projects. The main advantage is that contributions can be integrated without the need for everyone to push a single central repository to maintain a clean project history. Developers can push their own server-side repositories and only the project maintainer will push to the official repository. As soon as developers are ready to publish their local commits, they will push their commits to their own public repositories. Then they will perform a pull request from the main repository which notifies the project maintainer that an update is ready to be integrated. I hope so it's clear to you what are the advantages of forking workflow with other Git workflows. Now let's move forward and discuss the next question. The next question is, when do you use Git rebase instead of Git merge? The answer to the same question is, both Git rebase and Git merge commands are designed to integrate changes from one branch to the another branch, just that they just do it in different ways. When we perform the rebase a feature of branch onto the master branch, we move the base branch of a feature branch to the master's branch endpoint. By performing a merge, we take the contents of the feature branch and integrate them with the master branch. As a result, only a master branch is changed, but the feature branch history remains the same. Merging adds new commit to your history. Rebasing will create inconsistent repositories. For individuals, rebasing makes a lot of sense. Now, in order to see the history completely, the same way as it happened, we should use merge. Merge preserves history, whereas rebase rewrites it. I hope so it's clear to you when do you use Git rebase instead of Git merge. The next question is kind of interesting, and interviewers can also give you scenario type questions. Suppose he says, if I want to move or copy Jenkins from one server to the another, is it possible or not? You can answer something like this. Firstly, I would suggest copying the Jenkins jobs directory from old server to the new one. Then we can move a job from one installation of Jenkins to the another just by copying the corresponding job directory. Or also we can make a copy of an existing Jenkins job by making a clone of that job directory in a different name. Another way is that we can rename an existing job by renaming the directory. But if you change the name of a job, you will need to change any other job that tries to call the renamed job. In this way, you can move or copy the Jenkins from one server to the another, and which forms the perfect answer to this question. Now let's move forward and discuss the next question. Now let's discuss the next question. An interviewer can ask you something like this. Can you tell me what continuous testing and automation testing are? And you can answer something like this. Automation testing, as the name suggests, is a process of automating the manual process of testing. It involves the use of separate testing tools that lets developers to create test scripts that can be executed repeatedly without any manual intervention. Whereas the continuous testing is nothing but the process of executing the automated tests as a part of the software delivery pipeline in DevOps. In this process, each build is tested continuously, allowing the development team to get fast business feedback so that it can prevent the problems from progressing to the next stage of software delivery lifecycle. This will dramatically speed up a developer's workflow. He or she no longer needs to manually rebuild the project and rerun all the tests after making the changes. I hope so it's clear to you what is continuous testing and automation testing. You can answer something like this. An interviewer will definitely get impressed. Now let's move forward and discuss the next question. The next question is, are there any technical challenges with Selenium? So you can answer something like this, that there are certain challenges with the Selenium, such as it supports only web-based application, it does not support the bitmap comparison, no vendor support is available for Selenium as compared to the commercial tools like HPUFT, and finally, there is no object repository concept. Maintainability of objects becomes very complex. So these are kind of technical challenges with the Selenium. I hope so it's clear to you. Now let's move forward and discuss the next question. The next question is, when should you use Selenium Grid? And the answer to the same question is, it can be used to execute the same or different test scripts on multiple platforms and browsers concurrently in order to achieve distributed test execution. It allows testing under different environments, remarkably saving the execution time. I hope so. It's clear to you. In this scenario, you can use the Selenium Grid. Now let's move forward and discuss the next question. The next question is, how will you secure Jenkins? If the interviewer asks you this question, you can answer something like this. The way to secure Jenkins is as follows. First, ensure that the global security is on. Then, check whether Jenkins is integrated with the company's user directory with an appropriate plugin. Then, you can say something like this. It also makes sure that the project matrix is enabled to fine-tune the access. Then, you can automate the process of setting rights or privileges in Jenkins with custom version control script. Then, you can limit the physical access to the Jenkins data or folder. And finally, you can also periodically run the security audits. I hope so. It's clear to you how you can secure the Jenkins. Now let's move forward and discuss the next question. The next question is, how to create backup and copy in Jenkins. So, if the interviewer asks you this question, you can answer something like this. To create a backup, all we need to do is periodically back up your Jenkins home directory. This contains all of the build configurations of our job, our slave node configuration, and our build history. To create backup of our Jenkins setup, just copy this directory. We can also copy a job directory to clone or replicate job or rename the directory. I hope so. It's clear to you how you can create backup and copy in Jenkins. Now let's move forward and discuss the next question. The next question is, what is Jenkins pipeline and CICD? The answer to the same question is, Jenkins pipeline can be defined as a suite of plugins supporting both implementation and integration of Jenkins continuous delivery pipeline, whereas CICD or continuous integration or continuous delivery pipeline consists of build, deploy, test and release. The pipeline feature is very time saving. In other words, pipeline is a group of build jobs that are chained and integrated in a sequence. I hope so. It's clear to you what is Jenkins pipeline and CICD. Now let's move forward and discuss the next question. The next question is, what are Puppet manifests? So, this is one of the most important interview questions which can be asked by the interviewer, and you can answer something like this. Every Puppet node or Puppet agent has got its configuration details in Puppet master, which is written in native Puppet language. These details are written in a language that Puppet can understand and termed as Puppet manifests. These manifests are composed of Puppet codes and their file name uses the .ppp extension. For instance, we can write a manifest file in Puppet master that creates a file and installs Apache on the Puppet agents or slaves that are connected to the Puppet master, which forms the Puppet manifest. I hope so. It's clear to you what exactly is Puppet manifest. Now let's move forward and discuss the next question. The next question is, how can I configure systems with Puppet? This is also one of the most important interview questions, and you can answer something like this. In order to configure systems with Puppet in a client or server architecture, we have to use the Puppet agent and the Puppet master application. In a standalone architecture, we have to use Puppet apply application. I hope so. It's clear to you how you can configure systems with Puppet. Now let's move forward and discuss the next question. Now let's discuss the next question. It is also an interesting question, and the question is, what is Puppet code dir is? So, if the interviewer asks you this question, you can answer something like this. It is a main directory for code and data in the Puppet. It consists of environments containing manifests and modules, a global modules directory for all environments and your hero data. The next question is, name some of the most important DevOps tools. So, the answer to the same question is, the list of important DevOps tools are Git, Maven, Selenium, Jenkins, Docker, and Puppet. This is one of the most important questions. An interviewer is definitely going to ask you this one. So be aware of it about some of the most important DevOps tools. Now let's move forward and discuss the next question. Now let's discuss the next question, and the question is, how does Ansible works? This is also one of the most important questions which can be asked by the interviewer, and it can be on any tool which you are comfortable with. So here I have chosen Ansible, and you can answer something like this. Ansible is an open source automation tool which is categorized basically into two types of servers. The first is controlling machines and second is nodes. Ansible will be installed on the controlling machine, and using that machine nodes are managed with the help of SSH nodes. Locations are specified by inventories in that controlling machine. Since Ansible is an agentless tool, it doesn't require any mandatory installations on the remote nodes. So there is no need of background programs to be executed while it is managing any nodes. Ansible can also handle a lot of nodes from single system over an SSH connection with the help of Ansible playbooks. Playbooks are capable of performing multiple tasks, and they are in YML file format. So this forms a perfect answer to this question. Now let's move forward and discuss the next question. The next question is, why should I use Ansible? If the interviewer asks you this question, you can answer that Ansible can help in configuration management, application deployment, and task automation. That's why I'll prefer to choose Ansible. This forms a perfect answer to this question. Now let's move forward and discuss the next question. The next question is, what are handlers in Ansible? This is one of the most important questions, and you can answer something like this, that handlers in Ansible are just like regular tasks inside an Ansible playbook, but they are only run if the task contains a notify directive. Handlers are triggered when it is called by the another task. I hope so it's clear to you what is handlers in Ansible. Now let's move forward and discuss the next question. The next question is, can you tell me the purpose of SSH? So if the interviewer asks you this question, you can answer something like this. SSH is nothing but a secure shell that allows users to log in with secure and encrypted mechanism into remote computers. It is used for encrypted communications between two hosts on unsafe network. It supports tunneling, forwarding TCP, and also transferring files. I hope so it's clear to you. It is one of the most important questions which can be asked by the interviewer. Now let's move forward and discuss the next question. The next question is, what is an RPE in Nagios? So if the interviewer asks you this question, you can answer something like this. An RPE stands for Nagios Remote Plugin Executor. As the name suggests, it allows you to execute Nagios plugins remotely on any other Linux or Unix machines. If I talk about Nagios, it can be helpful in monitoring remote machine performances metrics such as disk usage, CPU load, etc. It can communicate with some of the Windows agents add-ons. We can execute scripts and check metrics on remote Windows machines as well. I hope so it's clear to you what is an RPE in Nagios. Now let's move forward and discuss the next question. Now let's discuss our final question, and this is, what is Nagios log server? So if the interviewer asks you this question, you can answer something like this. Nagios log server simplifies the process of searching the log data. Nagios log server is the best choice to perform tasks such as setting up alerts, notifying when potential threats arise, simply querying the log data, and quickly auditing any system. With Nagios log server, we can get all of our log data in one location with high availability. So this defines the Nagios log server. I hope so it's clear to you what's the answer of this question. So this was our final interview question. That was all for today's session. I hope so guys you enjoyed our video on DevOps interview question.
Just a quick info guys, if you want to make a career in cloud computing, then Intellipaat provides an advanced certification on cloud and DevOps by IIT Madras. This course is taught by industry experts and IIT Madras faculty. This course is designed to upskill and land your dream job.